I saw a lot of different medical conditions, from neurological conditions to autoimmune conditions to cancer, that people were responding. And so I was hired by a company to investigate, like, how is this working? And so I said, well, one possible mechanism is through the immune system. So I really focused on running a lot of tests over different protocols. And we came up with a couple of findings that I didn't see anywhere on the internet. I didn't see anywhere in the classic research that everybody talks about, the stepwise progression therapy from some of the older textbooks on anaerobic threshold training and stuff like that. And basically what I saw is that if we got people breathing oxygen, once they got between 500 and 1,000 calories, the tumor started to shrink. With time, the exercise with oxygen therapy increases the magnitude of the response, so more cells going out killing, but also increases the precision. They're not just killing anything, they're killing cancer.
This episode is brought to you by really the best way to nuke zombie cells. When you look at this buildup of senescent zombie cells in your body, it turns out that although these things churn out inflammation like, well, zombies, there's ways you can fight against them. The good folks at Neurohacker Collective are experts, and they've cracked the code at nuking these zombie cells in a safe and effective way with just 2 days a month of using their Qualia senolytic. You get a pack, take 6 capsules one day, 6 capsules the next day, set it and forget it for the next month. So if you want 15% off, the best way to nuke zombie cells, go to neurohacker.com/BGL15 and use code BGL15 for 15% off any purchase. That's NEURO hacker.com/BGL15 and use code BGL15 for 15% off of any purchase. Enjoy nuking your zombie cells. Kiss them goodbye. So I've known about this guy for years, an OG in, I don't know if you'd call it medicine or health or fitness or perhaps all three. His name is Dr. Thomas Incledon. And I've read some of the things he's written. I've listened to some of his interviews. And again, I've known about him for a while, but really have never had the chance to interview Tom until now. And Tom, you're probably best equipped to explain to people what your background is and what exactly it is that you do here. We're sitting here at Causenta in Scottsdale, Causenta. If you want the show notes, if you want to check this place out, I'll link to everything Tom and I talk about at bengreenfieldlife.com/Causenta. Again, Causenta. But Tom, tell me a little bit about what this place is, what you do, and how you got into this.
So this place has become sort of like this constantly expanding giant collection of technologies from around the world.
Sounds like my basement.
So the difference, though, is keep in mind is like we actually could put catheters in people's arms and we could collect data pre and post. So I know more about a lot of gadgets than the people that actually make the gadgets. So they'll tell me stuff like, oh, my machine gets more nutrients in a cell. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, how do you know? Well, because I've actually measured over 1,000 people doing it. Because the people come here, basically they're curious. They want to know, is this helping me or not? So we basically focus on measuring molecules that everybody needs to know about, but most people, it's not attractive enough to them, or they don't understand how to interpret it, or it's just not something in their normal wheelhouse. Like we're in a world where, instant gratification. I want to use it. I want results yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And so, I still operate on that myself, but then at a certain point, you're like, hey, how do I know this is helping me, giving it time or money or whatever effort you're putting into it? You want to know, is it not conflicting with something else you're doing? So basically what we started doing is we started giving people the opportunity to come in here and think of it as they could do their own N of 1 study. So whether someone wants to just lift weights and I can draw their blood and measure all the stuff around a workout, or whether someone wants to run, or it doesn't really matter what you want to do. We could just basically measure anything you want before, immediately after, and then multiple time points later. And then so from that, I've been able to discover things like no one else in the world has been able to discover. So for example, I first learned about exercise with oxygen therapy around 2015.
Yeah.
Other guys were already talking about it before then. But I looked at every single guy was like just reposting the same thing everybody else was posting. I'm like, who did you measure? Well, no one. So you're saying these things happen, but you never put a catheter in a guy's arm, drew his blood, and see what happens.
Right.
And then,
besides like maybe a pulse ox fingertip measurement.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started doing entire lymphocyte panels and started measuring cytotoxic T lymphocytes, natural killer cells, and then every hormone that could be measured, and all these antioxidants, and thousands of molecules or different cell lines. And then we started seeing some things and whoa, how do we reproduce that? So in other words, let's say I measure you and you're at 100, let's say. Well, measure me, I'm at a 10. And I want to get to 100. Now, what do I have to do to get my 10 to your 100, right? And that's when you say, wait a minute, I'm low in K2. And then does K2 have a relationship between the immune responses, And the reality is we know every cell in our body needs every single, a molecule like oxygen, water, vitamins, minerals, essential amino acids.
Vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, amino acids.
So if you're low, there's a penalty somewhere, whether you realize it or not, right? And so if I just happen to be low in something and not know it, I'm not going to get the best possible results from all the other stuff. So I always encourage people, make sure you know your basics, right? Because you're not going to get the best result from creatine or testosterone or whatever other supplement if you're missing this foundational stuff. And it's surprising, every human, I've tested over 200,000 people, the number of people that actually know this basic stuff before they get here is less than I could count on one hand.
I have to ask you, since you brought it up, and I do it 2 or 3 times a week, does exercise with oxygen therapy work?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So I guess we'll define how you mean work though. So first let me just reframe the question a little bit.
Yeah.
So I primarily see people that have very serious health issues right now. I still work
and that's important because I think a lot of people would look at, if you watch the video version, jerseys on the wall and the professional athletes, this is not just a high-end performance facility. You're treating people who are diseased.
Yeah. So to connect some of these sort of abstract concepts, I worked with, NFL Super Bowl winning teams and World Series winning baseball players and all these let's say high level athletes. And then these guys had family members or they got sick. And then you see all of a sudden they're in this other world and the quality care sucked. It was just terrible. Think of it this way. You're a football player. You go down on the field. They're MRIing you right on the sidelines or going in a tunnel and they have results instantly practically. Now you got cancer and you got to wait 3 weeks to get a scan. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a different
Insurance
world.
Approval, everything.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a whole, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And then the care team that's supposed to be working together to help this person beat this terrible illness, they're all, who's on vacation, who's not getting back till next week. And so it was very discombobulated. And I started seeing there's all this stuff that just wasn't done. And so that kind of led to me getting this reputation for helping all these, athlete family members. A lot of guys, think of it.
I was kind of wondering how you went from performance to disease. That's interesting.
And then it's just, it was one guy's like, hey, my dad's got this. Hey, my mom's got this. My cousin, my brother, whatever. And then just to be, when I was 9, my babysitter died from a brain tumor. And just, just to kind of put things in perspective, when I was 9, so I'm 57 now, but let's say roughly 50 years ago, no one knew what cancer was. Today, I say cancer, no one ever asked me, what is that? Everyone either has had it or knows someone that's had it. It's not like a scary new word. It's a scary word, but it's not new. It's in their vocabulary now. So in 50 years, we went from not knowing anything to everybody knows it. And so, just because the relationships, all these people, and then seeing all the results to family members, it really took off. Now, we always work with people with cancer, but it's kind of like this. You see, Ray Lewis, Bill Romanowski, but the studs of the past walking out, people know who they are because they've been on TV. So that name gets out there. You see some guy that's never been on TV with cancer walking out. No one says, oh, look who that is. They don't know who he is, right? And so some of that's just media bias and just, entertainment bias. You know? And so getting back to the EWOT, does it work? So what I've seen is that If I saw a lot of different medical conditions, from neurological conditions to autoimmune conditions to cancer, that people were responding. And so I was hired by a company to investigate, like, how is this working? And so I said, well, one possible mechanism is through the immune system. So I really focused on running a lot of tests over different protocols. And we came up with a couple of findings that I didn't see anywhere on the internet. I didn't see anywhere in the classic research that everybody talks about, the stepwise progression therapy from some of the older textbooks on, anaerobic threshold training and stuff like that. And basically what I saw is that if we got people breathing oxygen, once they got between 500 and 1,000 calories, their tumors started to shrink. That's without any treatments, like any chemotherapy.
When you say 500 to
1,000 calories.
500 to 1,000 calories, meaning that's what they were metabolizing during an exercise session?
So on there, say, like, so the ellipticals we have here are Cybex ARC trainers. So I'm not promoting the brand or anything, but just so that you know what we're doing. So we program it so the resistance to the load is 400 pounds, and that's the standardized for everyone. And then we have the incline at 10 degrees, incline, and then we have it start somewhere around 30%, but let's just say 30. Then they just pedal till they hit 500 calories on the screen.
Okay.
And then when they get more fit, to 1,000. And then somewhere in that zone of 500 to 1,000 total calories for that session, you just see cancer disappear.
Is that because cancer thrives in an anaerobic environment and you're creating an aerobic environment?
Well, you're doing a lot of things. So first, to kind of focus on the immune system aspects first, we see an increase in cytotoxic T lymphocytes and natural killer cells in a range of 27 million to 27 billion for one person.
Wow.
So in 15 minutes, their immune, here's their immune system, and it's normal, nothing wrong with it. But now, after 15 minutes, they're way up here. So you have dramatic increase in the immune cells leaving the spleen, going out into circulation, right? So they're basically, with time, the exercise with oxygen therapy increases the magnitude of the response. So more cells going out killing, but also increases the precision. They're not just killing anything, they're killing cancer. They're real precise now. So there's that advantage that you wouldn't get from laying in a bed doing nothing.
Yeah.
Plus now you also have increased circulation. You're getting more oxygen into the tumor. So if you had a lung tumor or something, you're basically getting reversal of the dysfunction of blood flow. So normally it's kind of like when someone has cancer, you get blood going where you don't want it so it can grow, and not enough blood going where you do want it to fight it. And exercise kind of reverses that. And we're starting to see now evidence from other groups that, hey, exercise volume may be important. I'm like, this has been known for 100 years. Just look around. People that exercise have a lower incidence of cancer in general.
Yeah.
So it's not like exercise keeps you from ever getting it, because there's too many chemicals in the environment to damage DNA for that right now, but it definitely prevents it from kicking in sooner.
And if somebody couldn't exercise due to joint limitation, or maybe they're just sick, could you get a somewhat similar effect from intermittent hypoxic training, using a cell gym or one of these units where you sit next to it and breathe oxygen that's alternating back and forth between hypoxia and hyperoxia?
So I would say, in general, not the same response, So I guess, think of it this way. Let's say I have a guy hit by a car, and this guy, hypothetical guy, he can't move for, let's say, spinal cord injury, and he also has cancer. So the way I would approach that is look at some of the classical research that was done, and you'd say, what can he move? Let's say he can move one hand, or if he can move a finger, but there's something I would focus on. Maybe whether it's a rubber band or a ball, but something that could provide loading or tension for what can be moved while he breathes in oxygen. And I would basically, whether it's a single finger or hand or a toe or foot, whatever it is, I would figure out a way to create a movement pattern that there's resistance and effort, and then train the hell out of him to get that stimulation.
What about hyperbaric?
So the limitation with hyperbaric is you can't move in hyperbaric. That's where usually you're laying down, and then what happens is you don't get anywhere.
Many sit-ups.
Well, so here's what happens is once you get to a certain pressure and the oxygen is starting to dissolve in the plasma, movement can induce oxygen toxicosis. And so what happens is if you compare immune responses, hyperbaric is nowhere, it's not even on the same galaxy. It's way down here versus EWAT. So I'm talking to guys that are far more knowledgeable about hyperbaric than I am. I mean, they live 100 days or more way below underwater. So it's like the true hyperbaric stuff. And talking to those guys and learning from them, like some of the limitations, it's hard to move a lot when there's that much pressure with oxygen. So, because then you run into other issues. But in theory, my speculation would be if I could take people and move them and then find the right pressure, maybe I don't need 4 atmospheres or 3 atmospheres, maybe I can get away with 1.5, but there should be, in theory, some crossover where the right concentration with the right movement pattern, with the right pressure, we can maybe get oxygen in the tissue faster. Now, having said that, hyperbaric oxygen therapy systems, there's a price point. Not many people can afford them. And I can get oxygen in the tissue with a gas mixture or with, just exercise really fast. So now if you look at back to what comparative physiology, what am I getting for what I'm spending? You wind up coming back to exercise with oxygen therapy.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, I don't sell these systems. I'm not a salesman here.
Yeah, no, I got you. And we're going to get a chance to show people some of this stuff shortly. Yeah. Tom's going to take me on a little tour of Causenta and show you guys some of the cool stuff here. But you've got a team here. Because when I walked in, the first person agreement at the front desk was a naturopathic physician. Yeah. There's you. Obviously, you've got a whole medical staff.
Yeah, we got a lot more people than just, it's not a one-man show. Yeah. And, so even... every patient here is a strength coach. Strength coach has 2 degrees, including a Master of Science degree. So it's not your typical...
Did you say every patient's a strength coach?
Yeah. So you can't get stronger if you don't have a guy that knows how to get strong, right? Yeah. Just think about that. So you go to MD Anderson, go to Mayo Clinic, Sloan Kettering, go to any cancer treatment center, and they'll say stupid stuff like, "Oh, we're going to get you stronger." Yeah. And you go, "Well, show me your strength coach." They look at you like you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
But imagine if
you mean every employee is a strength coach, not every patient.
Every patient that we have here has a strength coach.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So maybe I misspoke, but basically the point is, you can't help people if you don't have someone that knows what they're doing in that area. Yeah. Right. And so. One of the things
exercise is medicine, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, especially we have people coming in a wheelchair, and then they're walking in 3 hours, and then they're throwing out the wheelchair.
Wow.
You would think when they go back to the center that they came from, that other professionals go, "Well, it's a miracle. We should do this." And you see, it's not done because insurance doesn't cover it, and they can't monetize it.
Yeah.
And that's when you see right away there's a lot of stuff in healthcare that's upside down.
Yeah. Can't monetize movement.
Nah.
That's your tagline.
Yeah.
Well, you want to take me on a tour and show folks what this is all about?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. And again, if you're watching and you want to access the research, the resources, etc., go to bengreenfieldlife.com/Causenta. There'll be plenty more about Tom and what he does there. All right. We are officially here. This is where the magic happens. This is Tom's facility at Causenta. As you can see, chock full of all of the geekiest equipment. And Tom's going to show you some of the cool stuff here.
Okay. All right, thanks, man. All right, so this kind of section over here, this is what we call our exercise with oxygen therapy equipment. And so basically, took a bunch of the bags and they're hooked up in series. So that way, if I have like a beast that's breathing in a lot of oxygen, they're going to draw from like 6 bags.
You're not going to empty all the bags.
Right,
yeah. That's why I got to go out to my gym and turn on the bag early before I go out. I don't have big bags like you, but yeah.
So basically, we have a bunch of concentrators that take room air, concentrate the oxygen, fill up the bags. These bags are roughly 900 to 1,000 liters. So collectively, we're putting out anywhere from 30 to 90 liters of oxygen a minute. So we fill up a bag. And essentially, we have a lot of different cardio pieces of equipment. But when I was testing people, I tested people on a stationary bike. I tested people on a recumbent bike. I tested people on a treadmill. And I found the best immune responses from an elliptical device. Kind of makes sense, more muscle groups.
Arm, leg movement. Yeah.
And then when I tested different ellipticals, what I found is that I had a lot of people with joint issues, and more people could do the Cybex Arc Trainer. And keep in mind, my data I'm talking about, this is stuff I collected like 5 years ago. So could there be better exercise equipment now? Probably. But just at that point, this was the best we could find. And what I liked is I get some patients that can't stand, so they're going to be at 0. And I have some guys that are like, well-borns on the planet. They're at 400 pounds, right? So they're going to be real much higher.
Football players,
Right. So I need, like in one footprint of space, I need something that can accommodate a wide range of resistance. Now, basically, we start everyone at we use 400 pounds of resistance for everyone, and then we just lower the percentages that we're using for each person, but we max them out, see where their fitness is. Most people are starting at 25 to 30% of the 400-pound range, and then basically they're breathing in oxygen while they exercise, and then depending on where they are, their first workout, it might be 75 calories, 150 calories, 500 calories, whatever. And then while they're doing that, we then will introduce, these are some, there's a company called Collagen Techs, and they call this the RX3, they call this the RX1. Basically, it's very, very powerful light.
Wow, this is like red light therapy that you're using.
Yeah, while they're exercising. Yeah, now keep in mind, this is 10 wavelengths, so it's not just red light. So it's polychromatic light. So think of it super high energy, much more than you could find normally. And it goes to a quartz crystal that functions like a prism. So like the prism makes like a rainbow and you can see all the different wavelengths or colors. So this will break it down to 10. So kind of think of it this way. Company A says, my wavelength is better. Company B says, no, my wavelength is better. Yeah. We're doing 10. So it won't matter. And what you could see is, you could literally see people sweating like crazy.
So if someone wanted to replicate this at home, if they had a red light panel, it's not going to do as much of this as far as wavelengths are concerned, but they could set up a red light panel next to a bicycle or elliptical trainer, and if they have exercise with oxygen therapy, they could do that at the same time.
Yeah, the main concern you have, is distance, right? So the energy is inversely proportional to the distance or the radius square. So if it's too far back, then you run into a question is it meaningful?
You need a pretty powerful device or have it as close as possible.
Right. Yeah. So if you're doing this at home, I would say skimpy shorts, right? Yeah. No shirt, working out. Ideally,
even actually I should ask you this, a lot of companies now like LumaFlex or Kineon, they're making wraparound red light devices that you could theoretically wear on your legs or on your arms or strap around your back and get a baby effect of what you're doing here.
Yeah, so I think that's the right direction. I mean, ultimately we think of it as, so we'll jump ahead a little bit, but kind of along the lines you're just saying. So this is a company called Neuro20. Okay. These are basically electrodes. And basically think of it like whole body neuromuscular.
So it's like a pull-on EMS suit.
Exactly. Yeah. So now the difference is that when you see EMS in the market, what you want to know is, what are the patterns that they're using? What's the basis for those patterns? What these guys did, very clever. They recorded the electrical firing patterns from top athletes. So the best sprinters, best jumpers, best lifters. And now they got that in here. So basically...
What's it called again? It's
Neuro20.
Neuro20.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so basically, you put on the suit. Now I could stimulate any combination of major muscle groups I want. I can
Is this wireless or wired?
No, wireless. You wear the suit and I got a controller pad.
Okay.
And so you wear this, I could have you on that, and let's just say we want to just rehab the right leg. I could turn everything off and just stimulate the right leg.
Wow.
Or if you would say, I want to do more lower body, so I work with a lot of people with spinal cord injury or hip issues, and they have trouble standing up. So I can literally just do the lower body only. Or if I have a beast like you, I'm going to stimulate every muscle group in your body, and you can make it just walking.
I've worn that. Have you heard of the Catalyst suit before? I've worn that. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
You're using all these little muscles that you wouldn't normally recruit. So you're pretty sore afterwards.
Side by side, most of the guys would say they found this was way more intense, but also here's the cool part. The company has a patent on all the firing frequency patterns, so we could use it for rehab, and it's already approved. They can show that they can demonstrate guys come back from rehab faster. They could use it for just strength training. So think of it now. I have frail patients that were told, don't lift weights, you're gonna get hurt. Now they come in here, what am I doing? I'm doing cardio, electrically stimulating them. Yeah. We're discharging, these are men with terminal conditions and now have no evidence of disease, and they're leaving with 100-pound dumbbell rows.
Wow.
That's how it should be. That's the model of health.
But you're getting them to that point by using electrical muscle stimulation.
Yeah. So basically we're helping the brain connect to the body, right? Using electricity.
Yeah.
But now imagine you're wearing this while you're doing that stuff. Yeah. So think of it in 15 minutes, we could stimulate multiple physiological systems at a very high level. So for the guys so you see some clients, they're very successful, they're always traveling and they don't have a lot of time. Well, it's nice to have all the gadgets, but now you still have to use them, right? And where do you find that time? And so what I figured out is how to stack all these therapies so I could do stuff in 15 to 30 minutes that very few guys have ever seen done before.
Yeah.
And then I could show people like within days getting physically stronger or physically faster, you know? And then we do a lot of fun stuff. So like, talk about elite athletes, talk about some of the patients. I've literally had an NHL hockey player here training with a woman with pancreatic cancer, terminal pancreatic cancer, and they're working out together. And everybody's like, what the hell? And because what people forget is success sets the stage for success. And now what happens is the athlete has an injured ankle, he's rehabbing, the woman's trying to beat pancreatic cancer, they're both training at appropriate fitness levels, getting stronger, and next thing you know, the hockey player staying on a sled, telling the older woman with pancreatic cancer, come on, old woman, push. So now
I love that.
She gets stronger,
and
she's laughing, having fun, and she gets to tell all her friends, I just pushed this NHL hockey player, you know? So we're leveraging the power of community.
Are you coming in here at the same time and also drawing bloods, getting biomarkers, some of those things you were talking about when you were in your office?
Yeah, so we can. So it depends on where they are in their phase. So right at the beginning, we're measuring a lot of stuff because I basically think of it biochemically speaking. I have no idea what's going on inside of them. So I'm measuring all this stuff objectively. And then as we start seeing, okay, they're improving, they're responding, there may not be as much of a need, you know? So typically you're more concerned with like when someone's not responding or you have unknowns, then there's gonna be a lot more effort, if you will, to measuring stuff. But once people are doing fantastic, then typically they're like, hey, let's just ride this wave as far as we can until we, need to do something else.
Yeah, a lot of clinics will use, specifically for patients who are on chemotherapy, something that would increase the cytotoxicity of chemo, like ozone for increased oxygenation or hyperthermia. Have you ever had somebody come in who's on chemo and combine like an oxygen treatment with that?
Yeah, we would. So what I would say, first, we do very specific tests to look at the genetics of the cancer. We compare that to their germline genetics, so genes they were born with, and we look at the protein pathways that are driving the cancer to spread. And then we're simultaneously looking at the micronutrient status and the environmental chemicals and the pathogens. And so then the tools we would use to enhance the effectiveness of chemo, we depend upon a number of those variables. But I would say, in principle, if someone comes to the door and they never did chemo, whether they're stage 0 or stage 4, my goal is to get rid of the cancer so they never need chemo or surgery.
Okay.
So then that way, because nobody says, hey, let me go on to something I don't need, So what I usually try to do is get them to no evidence of disease in 2 or 3 weeks if they've never been treated. Now, if they've already been treated by other centers, then sometimes it's going to take close to 8 weeks because I haven't met any patients yet that have ever been exposed to this level of testing or precision. Most of the time, like when I see what's been done, there may have been something missed, and then you're not leveraging things the best. So for example, like some people have a Nerve2 mutation, and if it's not taken into account, you may push cancer one way or another, or like a lot of times people come in and go, well, I'm gonna go ketogenic because carbohydrates feed cancer. And you might say in theory there's a lot of evidence to support that, but now when we test the cancer in their body, we find that they have a crass mutation and protein and fat drives that cancer.
Interesting.
Right, so now it's it'd be kind of like if I said, hey, look, man, I want you to put this oil in your car, and you go, dude, I have an e-car.
Which mutation is that?
Crass
mutation. So that would indicate that something like a ketogenic approach would not be.
May not be the best approach. You gotta look at it, like keep in mind there's like a lot of genes, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't just cherry pick one and say, what if? You kind of look at it in a context. It's no different than in your car, you check the air pressure and all the tires before you decide what you're fixing or filling up with air. So think of it that way. I'm gonna measure all the genes and then decide what am I doing. I'm not just gonna measure like 2 or 3. So just on that science alone, it's like when with breast cancer, ER positive, PR positive, HER2. Well, why are you measuring 3 when there's like 22,000? That doesn't sound very thorough. And so what we try to do is be a little bit more thorough and precise and then leverage
You must
that.
have to use software, though, to dig through 22,000 genes.
Well, so it's collaborations. I've worked with other groups. So think of it as I'm kind of like, the nerd that knows a lot of these things, but I'm not data mining every single gene, right? They got each lab has their own AI platform. And then where the gap is connecting the platforms, right? So like one guy does germline genetics, the other guy does oncogenetics, but there ain't one guy doing both. So I got to kind of, sometimes I've take this data, take that data, talk to a few more PhDs or a few more MDs, reconcile like what makes the most sense, and then we're taking some action.
Okay. Speaking of error, you know, I've seen some people use this type of training in conjunction with hypoxic training, which supposedly flushes the cells with oxygen when you induce a state of hypoxia and then hit hyperoxia. Are you doing that also, like flipping back and forth between hypoxia and hyperoxia?
So the reason. So keep in mind, I'm dealing with people that already have poor oxygen delivery, and you also have to keep in mind that more than 70% of the clients have comorbidities. So they may be a high risk for stroke, high risk for heart disease, some other pre-existing condition.
So you don't want like that vasoconstrictive hypoxic effect in someone like that?
Not initially.
Okay.
So the initial goal was, let's get them to 1,000, right? If I get them to 1,000 calories, then and the cancer's gone, you know, now I'm dealing with a different person than they started. So let's say a non-athlete, an athlete with no evidence of cancer, we're assessing them and then we're looking at what's the best way to bring them up. And so there may be like hypoxic training combined with hyperoxic training. Might just be simple breath holding, hold as long as you can. And then start breathing while you got this oxygen flooding in. Right now we're looking at some interesting things like, so we have blood flow restriction training, weight training. And so think of it, so essentially, here's the catch that you won't hear a lot of guys tell you. What makes muscle grow faster? Low oxygen. What makes the immune system respond better? High oxygen. So now basically what do you want everybody to do? You want everybody to do both. But now given that, how do I do it safely for each person? You know, and then keep in mind, like your background, you have a lot more fitness stuff, whereas more like strongman stuff, whereas just like more 1RMs, you know? So there might be stuff you could get away with given your history, but I try that, I'm breaking down, right? So I got to figure out where people are and then kind of get them where they are to where it could be safer for them, and then we can go crazy and do whatever.
Would you ever use blood flow restriction combined with this stuff?
Oh yeah, all the time, yeah.
I mean, that's similar to like that. Have you seen the Vasper machine before? It's like cold, blood flow restriction, grounding, and then a lot of people will use oxygen with something like that.
So we're, the way that we would sort of integrate stuff here, we would definitely, so the poor man's approach, we just buy Velcro cinch straps from Amazon, just buy them $6, $12, put them on the top of the thighs, top of the arms, just pull that puppy as hard as you can take it, and then cinch it. You can't control tension, but it's like, you could feel the blood building up in your legs, you know it's working. And then
you just don't get great venous return compared to like those fancy Katsu bands.
No, definitely don't, but here's the thing is they're so inexpensive, you break, no one cries, you know?
No, that was my workout this morning. Cheap BFR bands from Amazon. I go for a walk and I do push-ups.
Well, they're great tools and they're easy to travel with. You don't have to worry about, you know, oh shit, I forgot something. I don't have a battery or a power adapter or something. And then if I get people like, if I have like a pro athlete and I need something a little bit more, like remember, if I got guys that could barely stand, I don't need a lot, right, to get some mileage. And if I have a guy that's, you know, like a John Wellborn or some other beast, then I need something that's maybe a little bit more high tech that could be more precise for those guys.
Anything else interesting that you're doing in here? I mean, obviously, this is the main full meal deal. You got the weights over here. So I see PMF back here.
So different things. So essentially think of it, well, basically what we did is we put think of the hospital as in the gym. Think of it like that. And so now, whether I need like loading with a dumbbell or loading with a cable, we'll play with different ways of transmitting load or force through the body. Because remember, I'm dealing with a lot of people with different issues. So we'll do a lot of things like, okay, so one strategy might be lifting with a carbon polymer bar, like the tsunami bars and things like that.
I don't know what that is, carbon polymer bar?
I'll show you over here. So basically, think like bamboo training. So let's see, where did I put it? So a lot of kabuki gadgets. I like those guys and their stuff. It looks like it's over here.
Strength, they make good stuff,
So, so the bar is made from a carbon polymer. So under load, so like right now, it doesn't bend much, right? But under load, it flexes and bows more, right?
Interesting.
So now what happens is, think about it. So like say if you're benching, right? And you come down. So you would do like, maybe like this would be better for like pressing movements. So you come down and when the load hits you with a standard bar, it's like a chroma steel alloy type of property. The loading is borne by the joints at end range, either extreme. But now with something like this, you come down, the bar bends away from you, so you don't feel that hard impact in your joint. So guys with arthritis, they love this stuff because they could train hard and their joints don't ache afterwards. So whether you're fully extending or fully, coming like at the end range of motion of a bench press, the bar bends away with you, so absorbs a lot of that energy. So as you then come back, the return is working with you.
Yeah, what's this one called?
Tsunami.
Tsunami. Huh.
Yeah, so this one, I think it tells you don't lift more than 170 pounds per side.
Yeah.
So now
is that because it might damage the bar?
So now, I'll just throw it back in here. Yeah. And then we got a lot of different, so think of like, so whether it's Spain, Czech Republic, Russia, Japan, we have gadgets from all over the world that we could put on people. So as an example, you heard of M-Sculpt, right?
Yeah, so, M-Sculpt, like the electrical muscle stimulation for incontinence or
that's not, so M-Cella is the one.
Yeah, that's the one you sit on.
So we got M-Sculpt, same company, BTL makes one, basically the M-Sculpt got attention for, like you put on your abs, put on your glutes, right?
Yeah, I've tried it.
So when we got that, I saw immediately I could help athletes jump higher.
Yeah.
And so we had guys using to increase their bench press and jump higher. And then company comes in and goes, it's not supposed to be used that way. I'm like, who said?
Yeah.
I own it now. I can do whatever the hell I want because it's in my building, right? Yeah. And you just basically, if you're curious, you could play around with a lot of these gadgets and develop new applications for them that, just most guys aren't thinking when they're selling it because they don't have time. Right?
Yeah.
They got to get the next sale done and stuff like that. Yeah. And so,
you were telling me you do something interesting with red light combined with PEMF, is that right?
Yeah, so let me see. All right, so basically, so this is a device, it's called Hercules laser, and this part's called a multi-lumen. So basically, each pad is 80 watts of power. So I could run, 80 to 160 watts of power around a joint. So think of it as the light comes out, goes so far. Then I take the pulse, and they have a lot of different attachments, but let's say the red light is going on my hand, right? So light's coming down into it.
Yep.
I can turn the pulse, put it over it, and I use the magnetic energy to drive it. So when I have people
using the magnetic energy from the PEMF to drive the red light with the PEMF stacked on top of the red light.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then if I try it, so I'll have guys try one or try the other, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe it helped, maybe it didn't.
Yeah.
I combine the two to like, holy shit, that stuff works.
That's interesting, because I actually have one of these soft, flexible red light beds that I've been laying on top of my PEMF mat that's just like this, and you feel incredible when you get up from it.
So what I've done here, so we have a light bed there, and then what I can do is take one of the attachments. The light's coming this way and the magnetic energy's coming that way, so it's not quite the same. You really want them in the same direction coming through. Problem is, I love the pulse, but it's a very powerful tool. And it could blow other gadgets easily. Like sometimes if it's too close, the energy here will blow a circuit board.
I've done that before.
That's an expensive learning process.
I can't run my sauna and my hyperbaric and my PEMF at the same time without somebody not being able to cook a meal upstairs.
So this guy here, whatever the hell, Gene is the owner of that company, whatever he did, I could blow this all through it and it doesn't damage it at all. Gene's an older guy, he's pretty rough. He's like, that's because you're buying cheap shit. I was like, Gene, it's not cheap shit. This is expensive stuff. It works real well, but everybody else is not thinking about, no one builds something worried about another device interfering with it, right? It's just not part of the process. However he designed it, it's like impervious.
Wow.
So basically, all I'm doing right now is getting you a little warmed up, just get a little sweat going. The sweat's gonna act as a conduction for the electrodes that are inside the suit. And then once you're a little sweaty.
Just like a toaster in a bathtub.
That's right. That's good to do. We're going to have some fun today. Now, I think old cowboy movies where they're shooting the guy's feet and saying dance. That's what I'm kind of thinking.
Oh, geez. It's all right. All I got to do is go sit on a plane after this, Tom.
That's right. Well, you're going to love me or hate me after this, right? There's no in between.
I usually hate people after EMS, got to admit.
What I'm going to do next, I'm going to turn on some light just so you get a visual of how the light would work. So give me one moment.
Now, light, that would penetrate clothing?
Yeah, you could have a fur coat and jeans and it'll go through it.
Wow. Is that based on the power of the red light?
the power to different wavelengths. So
Gotcha.
maybe you got 10 and some go pretty deep. And what I've also done, I've tested this. We have a chair version, and I've tested the chair version, and I can verify it raises hormone levels in men. So like, there's a lot of ways we could leverage this stuff. So I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna go like lower back area, and you'll feel like it's getting hotter around that area pretty soon.
Now I know why it wasn't getting harder. I was choosing the incline instead of the resistance.
Okay. It's like another 2 minutes, then you should be pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, I can feel the heat from that light. That's powerful.
Yeah, and it's not even a minute, right?
Wow,
It's like 30 seconds.
Yeah, you can feel it almost instantly, honestly.
And I could even get it closer.
It was like sunlight.
Yeah. It's like music guys like, dude, it's like staring into the sun. I'm like, well, then don't stare at it.
Yeah.
Just gonna walk through here. While you're doing that, I was gonna try to get this going. Maybe slow down just a smidgen, because I gotta plug this in.
Okay.
There we go. Cool.
And you're able to control this suit.
Yeah, so basically that's providing power to the suit, and it's the receiver. So then I have an app on an iPad and I connect to that guy. So I'm gonna start, basically, let's see here. Cool. All right. So we're gonna basically, we'll just say strength.
Okay.
You got like hundreds of options. We're gonna just pick something simple. I just say 10 minutes just because you gotta travel.
Yep. Gives me time to get to the airport.
Yep.
Without throwing a blood clot in the plane.
All right, so I'm gonna start. So first thing I'm gonna do is gonna turn on all the muscles. I'm gonna go up slow. If it feels like pins and needles, then you're basically not sweaty enough.
Not enough sweat.
Yeah.
I can tell I don't have too much sweat yet.
Okay. Let me know if you start feeling any tingling.
I can feel it a little bit.
So is it a pins and needles? Does it feel a little bit more like...
It's so light I can't even feel that much yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little pin needly, like slightly.
All right, I'm gonna wait another minute or two to get a little sweatier.
Okay.
And then I'll just keep increasing it.
Okay.
So I'm at like 3 right now, so it's pretty low.
Yeah.
But the idea is, so once there's sweat, then the electrode makes more contact surface.
You ever just spray it down with water?
You could. So what I like...
That's what I've done with the catalyst suit before.
Yeah, so what I'll do is a couple of options. One, I just jump in the shower, wet the whole suit, right? And that saves me time.
Yeah.
But, or if I don't want to get that wet for whatever reason, I just like 5 minutes, maybe 10, then it's sweaty enough.
You probably sweat faster than I do.
All right, and so now, all right, try it a little bit more. Let me know, how's it feeling?
Feel a little more, yeah.
Okay.
Still not a ton of sweat, but I can feel some of the muscles contracting a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna start now, increasing a little bit. Let me know if it gets too strong in any muscle.
I will.
Now, your some of like the abs in the back, if it's not pushed up.
Yeah, it's not super snug, so I probably won't feel that much.
Yeah, right. If it's not,
it's enough to at least give folks a little demo of what it looks like.
Yep. So what we would do is, so sometimes some of the athletes have a big chest waist differential.
Yeah.
So we put a band around, like a Velcro band around the waist.
Gotcha.
So it touches.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I got a very wide shoulder to waist ratio.
Yeah. So then what we'll do is I'm just going to turn it up just a little bit. Let me know when your quads are feeling it.
It's pretty cool how you can adjust arms and legs separately.
Yeah. So I can go left, right, and left, or independent muscle groups.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, what's kind of interesting, so a lot of people have had like a head injury or brain injury or something, or a fall even.
Yeah.
They'll say, my right side is great, my left side not feeling it. So I can bias it and put more stimulation on the side not getting it. And then you'll see workout after workout that all of a sudden it starts catching up. So I'm going to now make it a little bit stronger in the legs.
Yeah, now I'm starting to feel the legs.
Cool.
Yep.
So we're about 4.5 minutes in.
Uh-huh.
And then now, so I didn't have you breathe in the oxygen because we're talking, right?
Yep.
And obviously it would interfere, but like if you were like training for real, I'd have you breathing in
the
oxygen.
mask on,
Yeah, and then given your background, there's a lot of like latitude. So we could explore like sprint intervals.
Yeah.
We could explore different things.
Yeah.
And then, the joke, like, so we teach a lot of the patients here, how do you make anything feel easier or lighter? Just do something harder, right?
Yes.
So,
it's all relative.
Yeah, it is. So do a hard sprint, now try 30% and it feels like nothing's there,
Yep.
All right, so coming down, you got 4 minutes to go. You want to write it out?
And the strength kind of goes back and forth, huh?
So in terms of like, what do you mean back?
Like it'll like contract and then relax.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So what I did for you, I just put a 60-second contraction and a 1 second relaxation.
I was going to say, the relaxation period seemed to go by pretty quickly.
That's right. You're like you sure it's even working?
Cackling like a torture chamber master.
Yeah. Well, I did want you to be like, I saw Tom's place. I didn't get any results,
you turn up the legs a little bit then.
Okay. I want you to go back home and say, I'm not sure if that guy's all there, but I definitely got results.
Fond remembrance of Tom Incledon.
That's right. I'm never going back, but at least my quads are bigger. You tell me when.
Let's say we're right there.
Okay. It's pretty good. A little bit more, we're at Neanderthal level. So you're almost there, man.
Oh, wow. Oh, there's that 1 second relaxation kick in. And it's gone.
Right. Yeah. I blinked, relaxation's over.
Yeah.
So, so when I do this, I put basically no relaxation, right?
Yeah.
So it's like contract.
Just consistent
just
the whole
reset,
time.
Yeah.
Well, because it does give you a lot of results in a short period of time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, like, this part of me, like if I was competing, I would do what it takes, like in terms of training.
Yeah.
But where I am right now, I have a lot of responsibility for other people's lives.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, okay, in 15 minutes or less, how could I get some results? And then I'll try to do it maybe like I get better results from frequency than I do from volume right now. Particularly because I have a lot of neural issues and arthritis issues. So shorter times, I don't beat myself up too much, So you get about 3.5 minutes to go.
Okay. Maybe like every 30 seconds, let's turn up a slight notch. Let's see if I can power it out.
Okay.
Can't do anything for 3 minutes.
Sure. So you got 9 seconds, and then I'll crank it up.
Okay.
All right, ready? Here we go. How's that?
A little more. Yep.
Okay. I just went up like 2 units.
Yep. Just maybe keep doing that like every 30 seconds.
Sure. I'll just keep doing it till I see you cry, all right?
Yeah. Once you see me squirming, you'll know.
Like, what kind of dance move is that? I haven't seen it before.
Yeah. Like all the electric dance exercise.
Yeah.
The electric boogie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell this would be probably like slightly easier with oxygen, huh?
Well, definitely for the muscles, definitely for like the brain, like you're not going to definitely not get as fatigued. But the idea behind the oxygen is to create a temporary environment where you could train maybe way harder than normal. I could take people in 12 days, get them results I haven't had in years.
Wow.
Yeah, and the reason is we keep pushing and pushing, but safely, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's just as impressive the results you're getting with disease.
Well, everybody, wherever they are, whatever they're dealing with, like no matter what you're dealing with, when you come in, you want to be better, right? Regardless of the diagnosis. You're pretty good, man. You're almost at 60. That's probably the highest I've ever done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're right now, there's no data on this point, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Venturing to Mars.
You're like, what happens there? We just don't know, right?
Ben loses his tacos that he had for lunch.
Wait.
Everything feels good except that left leg.
Yeah.
Which is honestly where I've had some knee issues in the past. That left leg, you can feel it's a little bit weaker.
So is the signal weaker or the contraction weaker?
The strength of that left leg, like I'm getting way more drive with my right leg.
So then so what I would do is I would play
only a minute and 20. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now,
push through.
So right now, 62.
Yeah.
You want to just leave it there to the end?
Oh.
You want to go up?
How much time do I have?
You got just over a minute.
Just over a minute? Let's go 65 for this last minute. Let's see how that goes.
Here we go. I'm starting to like you more and more, man.
Not quite a walk in the park, but...
It's all right. If you feel really good tomorrow, it was my idea. If you're really sore, it was your idea.
It was my idea, yeah. Yeah, I can tell I'll probably feel a little bit, but yeah. Between that and my BFR training this morning.
Yeah, that's right. This is like a double header for you.
BFR doesn't beat you up too much. It's a great setup, though.
Yeah.
You're giving people plenty of ideas here.
Sure.
It's going to be a bunch of gyms that want to add something like this to their facility.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially, the Neuro20 what's so cool is, like, you don't have, like, the level of dysfunction a lot of people work with. But imagine if you have trouble walking, they actually have a program to help you walk like a normal person.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm using that right now.
Like a gait retraining type of program.
Exactly.
So there's just a bunch of different settings on that thing.
Yep.
Wow. Make sure I check the time here. I think we're good.
All right, man. You did it.
All right, yeah.
Done.
Woo.
I just turned it off. Hopefully you don't feel anything now.
Now.
It's still going. Won't shut off.
It's stuck. That's the permanence. You go over 60, it stays on permanently.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a penalty of...
Wow. Well, for folks watching, obviously, it's a pretty incredible setup. And, there's a lot of information on Tom's website at Causenta, along with other interviews that he's done. But I really wanted to get you guys thinking about ways that we can go beyond just, pumping iron, going on a walk, riding a bicycle. All that's great. But when you introduce a little bit of better science like this, oxygen, light, electromagnetism into your fitness protocol or your disease management protocol, your performance protocol. I've known about what Tom's doing for quite some time. It's very cool to see what he's put together here at the facility. So definitely recommend you check him out. I'm going to put all the show notes at bengreenfieldlife.com/Causenta. If you like Tom, let me know. We'll do another interview at some point. Come to Scottsdale and Phoenix quite a bit. So if you guys want to take a deeper dive in the meantime, visit his website. Tom, thanks so much, man. Thank you. But I'll tell you for sure if I thank you in the morning. Thanks for watching, you guys.
Do you want free access to comprehensive show notes, my weekly roundup newsletter, cutting edge research and articles, top recommendations from me for everything that you need to hack your life, and a whole lot more? Check out bengreenfieldlife.com. It's all there. bengreenfieldlife.com. See you over there. Most of you who listen don't subscribe, like, or rate this show. If you're one of those people who do, then huge thank you. But here's why it's important to subscribe, like, and or rate this show. If you do that, that means we get more eyeballs, we get higher rankings, and the bigger the Ben Greenfield Life show gets, the bigger and better the guests get, and the better the content I'm able to deliver to you. So hit subscribe, leave a ranking, leave a review if you got a little extra time. It means way more than you might think. Thank you so much.